Good morning and welcome everyone to the Beyond Air Financial Results Call for the fiscal third quarter ending December 31st, 2019. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I'd like to turn the call over to Monique Cossi of XAIR Advisors. Please go ahead.
Thank you, operator, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for participating in today's financial earnings conference call for the company's fiscal third quarter ended December 31st, 2019. Leading the call today will be Steve Lisi, Chairman of the Board and Chief Executive Officer of Beyond Air. Joining him today will be Douglas Beck, Chief Financial Officer, and Amir Avneal, President and Chief Operating Officer. Earlier this morning, Beyond Air issued a press release announcing its financial results for its fiscal third quarter 2020. A copy of the release can be found on the Investor Relations page of the company's website. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that comments and various remarks about future expectations, plans, and prospects constitute forward-looking statements for the purposes of the Safe Harbor provisions under the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Beyond Air cautions that these forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those indicated. Beyond Air encourages you to review the company's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, including, without limitation, to the company's Form 10-Q, which identifies specific factors that may cause actual results or events to differ materially from those described in the forward-looking statements. As a reminder, this conference call is being recorded and will be available for audio rebroadcast on Beyond Air's website, www.beyondair.net. Furthermore, the content of this conference call contains time-sensitive information that is accurate only as of the date of the live broadcast, February 7th, 2020. Beyond Air undertakes no obligation to revise or update any statements to reflect events or circumstances after the date of this call. With that, I would like to now turn the call over to Steve Lisi, Chairman of the Board and Chief Executive Officer of Beyond Air. Steve?
Thanks, Monique. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are pleased to be here with another update on our progress. 2020 is going to be an exciting year. I will keep my comments brief as we are only 4 weeks away from our analyst meeting, which we will hold in New York City on March 5th at 2 p.m., where we'll give more detailed updates on all of our programs. Let me begin with our LungFit PH program, where we are preparing for our U.S. pre-market approval, or PMA, submission for persistent pulmonary hypertension of the newborn, or PPHN. On our last earnings call 3 months ago, I noted how we were allocating resources to get our IDE submitted for our pivotal bronchiolitis study, and that we would need to push out our PMA filing given that we are unable to run both programs in parallel. I am very pleased to report that next week we will be moving our resources to focus on the LungFit PH PMA submission. At this time, our best estimate is that the PMA submission will occur in approximately 10 to 12 weeks from today. Thus, we remain confident in our ability to commercially launch our LungFit PH system in calendar fourth quarter 2020. With respect to our launch plans, we announced in December our decision to terminate our commercialization agreement with Circassia Pharmaceuticals for material breach. The termination of our partnership with Circassia does not change our plans for a late 2020 launch, and we are currently exploring all options for commercial launch. We are fully prepared to launch the product on our own in the U.S. However, discussions with potential commercial partners are ongoing for the U.S. market, as well as for the ex-U.S. markets. Many times I have highlighted the operational, safety, and cost advantages of our system over cylinder-based systems, which we think will help us take a significant share of the several $100 million U.S. market. Our Chief Commercial Officer, Duncan Fatkin, has been with us for 13 months now and has the experience to successfully launch the LungFit PH system. He and the Beyond Air team are looking forward to discussing our plans and displaying the LungFit PH system at our Analyst Day on March 5th. In our second program, LungFit Bro for bronchiolitis, we have enrolled over 85% of the patients in our final pilot study in Israel and expect to complete enrollment before the end of this month. We expect to announce data from this pilot study in May. Our clinical team has done an excellent job of executing on the trial. As I mentioned earlier, we are on track to initiate our pivotal trial in the 2020-21 winter season in the United States. The pivotal study should be completed in the second quarter of 21, with data reported around mid-year. As a reminder, bronchiolitis is the leading cause of hospitalization for infants worldwide, with over 130,000 hospitalizations annually in the U.S. alone. There are no drugs approved for the treatment of bronchiolitis, and the standard of care is currently oxygen and hydration. More on our plans to launch this product will be discussed at our Analyst Day on March 5th. I would like to point out that about 35% of bronchiolitis is caused by viruses other than RSV. Some of these other viruses are deemed coronavirus. We are all monitoring the global situation with the coronavirus strain from China. While the company has never attempted to treat the specific coronavirus that is causing the current global alarm, we currently have confidence that our LungFit Pro system is effective in treating certain types of coronavirus based on data already generated. We look forward to the opportunity to test our system on more difficult-to-treat coronavirus strains, and hopefully we will get the chance to test it on the coronavirus from China. We view it as our responsibility to help if we can. In our LungFit NTM program, or better dubbed our at-home program, we are planning to initiate a multi-center, 12-week, self-administered at-home pilot study in patients with NTM lung infection by mid-calendar year 2020. Patients may be diagnosed with either a Mycobacterium abscessus complex, or also called an abscessus or Mycobacterium avium complex, known as MAC. Patients will be titrated up to 250 parts per million of nitric oxide. Based on the clinical and preclinical data generated to date, we are confident that this pilot at-home study will succeed. We are encouraged by the simplicity of our LungFit NTM system for the patients to self-administer in the home setting. For the patient, it is a simple 5-step process. Plug the system into any standard electric outlet, turn on the power switch, insert the smart filter into the system, place the breathing mask on the face, and press the start button. It's a very straightforward system. The pilot study is designed to enroll 20 patients infected with NTM who have either refractory MAC or an abscess. The 12-week study will evaluate safety, quality of life, physical function, and bacterial load. The FDA has emphasized recently the importance of quality of life improvement and physical function, as well as improved safety profile, as markers of success versus solely eradication of the bacteria. Data from patients treated to date with NO gives us confidence that we can safely treat patients for 12 weeks at 250 parts per million, improve patients' lives on multiple parameters, and improve on current rates of eradication. Based on our current expectations, we expect to report interim data from the at-home study around the end of calendar 2020. If successful in our LungFit at-home NTM study, we believe it opens the door to a very significant market for chronic, severe lung infections treated in the home, and with proper resources, we could potentially explore a program in COPD patients with severe exacerbations brought on by any pathogen. This is a very large underserved market. I would like to point out that our preclinical toxicology testing of our LungFit system is complete, and the results are stellar. I am pleased to report that both our 12-week rat and dog studies have been completed, and the histopathology is complete as well. There are 0 observations. In other words, there were no differences, macro or microscopic, between treatment with 250 parts per million nitric oxide over 12 weeks and control. The protocol used in these 2 studies mimicked the protocol that will be used in humans in our upcoming at-home NTM study. These results complement the 30-day rat study that was completed previously at 400 parts per million, where there were no differences versus control. Before I turn it over to Doug to review the financials, it's important to note that we recently completed a public offering and private placement of our common stock, raising $11.5 million in gross proceeds. This will support our activities, developments, and anticipated milestones at least through fiscal year 2021. We are very excited about the outlook for the next 18 months and are eager to share our vision with you at our Analyst Day on March 5th, 2020 at 2 p.m. in New York. We will display our commercial-ready systems and have several members of the Beyond Air team in attendance for you to speak with. We will also have KOLs presenting their perspective on acute pulmonary hypertension, bronchiolitis, and NTM, and why LungFit is needed. These are truly exciting times for everyone involved, and we look forward to an in-depth discussion with you next month. With that, I will turn the call over to Doug for the financial review. Doug?
Thank you, Steve. Here's a brief review of our third quarter results ended December 31st, 2019. Revenue for the 3 months ended December 31st, 2019 was $314,000. This revenue came from the milestone payments from our partnership with Circassia. There were no revenues from the same period of 2018. Research and development expenses for the 3 months ended December 31st, 2019 were $2.6 million, compared to $0.6 million expense in the same 3-month period of 2018. General and administrative expenses for the 3 months ended December 31st, 2019 were $2.5 million, compared to $1.8 million for the same 3-month period 2018. For the 3 months ended December 31st, 2019, the company had a net loss to common shareholders of $4.6 million, or 43 cents per share, compared to a net loss to common shareholders of $2.4 million, or 28 cents per share in the same 3-month period of 2018. As of December 31st, 2019, the company had cash equivalent, restricted cash, and marketable securities of $15.5 million. This cash is sufficient to fund operation beyond the next 12 months. I'll now hand it back to Steve.
Thanks, Doug. Before we go to questions, I would like to acknowledge the excellent job and tremendous effort by the Beyond Air team. On most fronts, we have met or exceeded our goals, and we expect to continue this trend and launch our LungFit PH system later this year. Have our LungFit Bro pivotal study completed during the 2020-21 winter season, and complete our at-home LungFit NTM study in the first half of 2021. Thanks to our many supporters who have helped us get this far. We will never stop pushing to improve patients' lives with LungFit and reward our investors for their patience and belief in us. Now, we would like to open up the call to your questions. Operator?
Thank you. At this time, we'll be conducting a question and answer session. If you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 if you'd like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star key. One moment, please, while we poll for questions. Our first question comes from Surah Kalia with Oppenheimer. Please proceed with your question.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my questions. Steve, can you hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So on Bro, Steve, walk us through what data should we expect in a few weeks from the pilot study? And also for the pivotal study, the second quarter 21 timeline highlighted, can you walk us back through the data from the pilot and then how that parlays into pivotal, number of patients? Any color there for the pivotal Bro would be great.
Sure. So the study that we'll be reading out in a couple of months, this is a 90-patient study in Israel, and it's blinded, so we don't know anything yet. But we'll be showing, efficacy, safety data in a small number of patients. Again, this is helping us to potentially reduce the size of the pivotal study and give us some confidence on a few things, a few tweaks to the trial design and also to the equipment being used. So I'll give you one example. One example would be the mask. We wanted to optimize the mask that's used in the study. These are infants. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that would work on a 1-month-old and a 12-month-old, for example. So we tested a lot of different masks for the study, and we put it in, and it's actually going very well. So we're very happy with that. That's one example of doing it in this study in Israel, so we could perform better in the pivotal study. And there are a few data points that we'll be looking at that may reduce the size of our pivotal study. So right now, the pivotal study, you asked about the size. I'd say the pivotal study is going to be somewhere between 250 and 300, and maybe if we might be able to be able to reduce it down to between 200 and 250. So maybe we'll be able to say that, a couple dozen patients total in the pivotal study, which would be important. Actually, might even justify the cost of just spending. So I don't know if there's any further detail you wanted on bronchiolitis. So I can walk you back on the timeline to 21. But you want to ask anything before that?
Right. No, that's good enough. And there isn't roll-in, right, for the 90 patients on the pilot that potentially could be brought over into the pivotal, correct? The pivotal would be completely separate, 250 or 300 patients, and there wouldn't be data mixing in. Okay. Got it.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Absolutely separate.
Okay. Yeah. Second question, Steve. You mentioned coronavirus, and forgive me, I don't have your exact words from your prepared remarks, but what has been done so far vis-a-vis coronavirus? Your comments caught my attention there.
So, look, in bronchiolitis, there's coronavirus in these infants. It's not about 65% of bronchiolitis is caused by RSV. The others are other viruses, coronavirus being one of them. So, we really didn't do a lot of genotyping here. In our studies, we didn't say, hey, we really want to know exactly what subtype there are in each infant, but we do have some data because some of the hospitals are doing that on their own. They will note what type of virus was in the infant. Some do, some don't. So we've scoured back through the data in the trial, 2 trials that are completed. Obviously, the trial we're doing now. Again, obviously, in the middle of the trial, we're saying, hey, who's doing this? And if you're not, can you for the rest of the babies? So we don't know if we're going to have any coronavirus in this study, but the other 2 we did. And we've looked at it, and it's obviously from 2 different studies. It's a very low number of patients, but there's definitely promise there. I can say that. It certainly piqued our interest to look at it, and it gave us confidence to kind of move forward and look at more options. So we will be doing some in vitro work in the very near future. It will not be with the coronavirus from China. Obviously, I'm sure most of you know it's very hard to get your hands on it, number one, and number 2, you need the proper type of lab to do it in. It's very difficult to have that. We don't have that. So I don't know what will happen going forward, Suraj. We'll have the data. We'll have some more data. Again, there are different strains of coronavirus, so we'll do our best to get as much as we can. And we'll see. Obviously, everyone knows that many governments around the world are looking for help. We will present what we have, and if they want our help, we're more than happy to do it. But at this time, we're still probably a couple of weeks away from knowing if anybody wants our help specifically.
Got it. And finally, Steve, PPHN, it's delayed the submission is delayed by approximately a quarter. If you are to launch, let's say calendar Q4 20, then can you just walk us through what all needs to be done between, obviously you submit, as we understand it, max is a 6-month, or at least statutory is 6-month review period. How you all are thinking through it to give you all confidence in the 4Q launch timeframe? Thank you for taking my questions.
Sure. So just to recall, we definitely stated that our submission was going to be towards the hopefully towards the end of March, given that we're working on our IDE submission for bronchiolitis. So I wouldn't say it's pushed out by an entire quarter. That would be the end of June. We're very disappointed in that. So I don't think that's the case. So we think that 180 days gets us to a point in the 4th quarter where we will have time to launch. And just to reiterate, I've done it a few times to people who've asked that the launch is not a big giant launch to over 1,000 hospitals on day one. This is more of a slow launch with a small number of hospitals. So getting it launched quickly is not really an issue. If we were going out to over 1,000 hospitals, we wouldn't be able to launch it immediately. So that's not the plan. Never was the plan. So launching it in the fourth quarter of this year shouldn't be a problem. If we got approval in October or November, it wouldn't be an issue at all. Obviously, if it happened in December, might not happen in the fourth quarter. So right now, we feel comfortable that we'll be able to launch in the fourth quarter of this year. So again, we've got no reason to believe at this point that wouldn't happen.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Matt Kaplan with Ladenburg Thalmann. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Steve. Good morning, and congrats on the progress during the quarter. You mentioned in your prepared remarks here, discussions ongoing with potential partners for the PPHN program in U.S. and ex-U.S. I guess the question is there anything really that any recourse that Circassia has at this point that could prevent you from signing a new partner in the U.S.?
It's a good question, Matt. I don't know if I have the answer. We took action, and our action, we feel very comfortable with what we did. We think it was the right thing to do. Therefore, in our opinion, they don't have much recourse to stop us from progressing forward. I can't speak for potential partners and what their opinion is about it, about the situation. So I really don't know how to answer the question exactly. Our opinion is there's nothing stopping us from operating our business and moving forward in any way that we choose to. But others may have a different opinion.
Got it. And then ex-U.S., that shouldn't be an impediment at all, correct?
That's outside of China, technically. Technically, the deal with them was for U.S. and China, so I don't want to. I just want to make that clear. But outside of those two territories, there was no rights to them. So, yes, that would be correct.
Okay, thank you. And then just a follow-up on the BRO program pilot study specifically. In terms of helping us to set kind of let's call it expectations in terms of what you're looking for in the endpoint there with respect to efficacy. Help us understand what to look for when you report out the data in May.
So it's the same thing that, and again, this study is small, so it's not powered for statistical significance. I just want to make that clear. 90 patients is not powered to show statistical significance. We don't expect to see it. We just expect to see, obviously, separation, but it won't be statistically significant. It's just not big enough. And that was done on purpose. So I don't want to get expectations up for a p-value of 0.05. That's not the goal of this study. But we are looking at the endpoints are the same as the studies before. We're looking at oxygen saturation. We're looking at the modified TAL score, which is a composite endpoint. It's four endpoints in that composite, 2 objective and 2 subjective. And we'll also be looking at hospital length of stay. Those are the main ones. And again, in the previous study, the primary endpoint was the actual physician's decision to discharge the patient from the hospital. In this study, we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be looking at the composite endpoints of the TAL score and the oxygen saturation. So it's the same as before. So let me see if I can explain this simply. A physician in the last study could not make a decision to discharge unless the TAL score was met and oxygen saturation endpoint was met. Both of those endpoints, secondary endpoints in the previous study, needed to be met before the physician was even allowed to consider a decision for discharge. Okay? So in this study, we're going to be looking at each endpoint individually. We'll be looking at the composite of those endpoints combined and looking at the discharge. In the previous study, we didn't do that interim step. We didn't look at the combination of TAL score and oxygen saturation before the physician made a decision. It wasn't looked at. In this study, we'll be looking at that as an endpoint as well. So it's the same 3 endpoints we're looking at, but there's an interim step endpoint that we added to the study to look at. So in other words, oxygen saturation is an endpoint. PAL score is an endpoint. Then the combination of those two occurring would be a third endpoint, and then discharge would be the fourth endpoint. So you'll see that we're looking at, we'll report on 4 endpoints in this study, rather than the last one we reported on 3.
Okay.
I don't know if that made sense to everybody, but I can explain it on March 5th a lot better. The slides will look great.
That's really helpful. No, that's really helpful. And then in terms of what you're thinking for the pivotal study as a primary endpoint?
So that's what we're going to find out. I mean, I think that interim step that I mentioned just now, I think that we may be looking at that as a primary endpoint rather than the actual discharge from the hospital. That's going to be, we'll see what happens here, and there's going to be a discussion with FDA. I think either way, it doesn't matter to us. We'll win on either one. So it's just a matter of, what we see in the study as to what FDA is going to decide. So for us, it doesn't matter. But FDA wanted to, they wanted to answer some questions before they signed off, and that's what we're doing.
Great. And then last question, in terms of your PPHN PMA filing.
Yep.
Previously, you had said that there were some, software engineering things that you need to complete. What do you view as kind of the rate-limiting step now in terms of completing that PMA file?
Paperwork, let's call it. Organizing all of the test reports, putting them into the prep form for PMA. We haven't completed all the testing, so I don't want to say all the testing is done. It's not. But I think that completing the tests, that's not a problem. It's just putting everything together the right way and making sure it's a high quality PMA file. I mean, this is just kind of blocking and tackling with our partners, our vendors, and making sure that we can get everything coordinated. That's the stage that we're at. You'll see the system on March 5th. This will be a representation of a commercial system. This will be one of the devices that we've built on the commercial line for evaluation by the FDA. So this will be what would go into the hospital. So you'll see it. It's ready for prime time. We just need to, take the system, obviously multiple systems, off this line and do all the requisite testing that FDA requires. Now, all the requisite testing FDA requires, we just completed all that testing with our bronchiolitis system for our IDE. Testing is very similar. Obviously, there'll be a few differences, but it's very similar. There's just a lot more with a ventilator-compatible system than the bronchiolitis system in terms of data-generated paperwork and so forth. Plus, it's a PMA versus an IDE. So it's work that we just did. It's just going to be on a little bit bigger scale with a ventilator-compatible system. So it's just a matter of getting it together and getting the resources from our partners and making it happen. The software that we mentioned many months ago, you'll see on the 5th that it's no problems. Everything's working beautifully. We showed it down in November at AARC. That was not the commercial-ready LungFit PH system, but it was a fully functioning, working LungFit PH system on a ventilator. So that system was great. Now we have the one coming off the commercial line, so it's ready to go. So again, it's just a matter of us, our ability to coordinate everything with our partners and make it happen.
Great. Thanks for the added detail, and thanks for taking the question.
Yep, thanks, man.
Our next question comes from Scott Henry with Roth Capital. Please proceed with your question.
Thank you. Steve, with regard to the PPHN launch, which would happen in Q4 calendar year, how late can you wait before making that partner, non-partner decision? Meaning, at what point do you have to kind of prepare for the launch one way or the other?
Yeah, I think that, once we submit, I think that, that first 30 to 60 days after we submit, we're going to be putting on the commercial side. We'll be putting in a lot of effort on our side to put things in place. So if someone's going to do something, it would be shortly after that PMA submission. I think if we get past 30 to 60 days, we would have to just say we're not going to partner this. So I think that's kind of the timing. I wouldn't, at that time I'll let you know, hey, there's someone close, and when we may not go alone still. But at this moment in time, you asked the question. I think that 30 to 60 days after we submit, if we don't have if we don't have a structure of a deal that's conducive to us, is something that we believe is worthwhile taking, we would go alone.
Okay. And with regards to Europe, I believe you were planning on filing in the first half of 2020. Is that still the case?
No, we removed that guidance a while ago, 9 months ago, I think, because the 6 months ago we removed that guidance. It's been a while. So the new rules in Europe come out April 1st, and it's just been, we're the small company here. We don't really know everything that's going on. We have some consultants and people that we know, and they're just as confused as we are, and they're kind of just waiting for these new regulations to come out in Europe. So once they come out, we will evaluate them and see what we can do. So, it could be a back half of this year filing. Could be another 2 years. Just don't know until we get the final regs from them, and we get our people who are experts over there to sift through it and try to figure out how our product fits in. So I really just don't have a definitive answer for you on timing on that, because we're at the mercy of what these new regulations are going to say.
Okay, fair enough. And with regards to the at-home trial to start in the middle of this year, are there any gating factors for that trial to begin, or is it more up to your timeline?
Well, there's always gating factors. So there's IRB approval. That's a gating factor. We are going to make our submissions on the timelines that we've been told we need to make them for IRB review. So if the IRBs review in the timeline they're supposed to, that's good. So I can't control that, but given the timelines that we've been told, we're going to meet those timelines to submit to the IRBs, and they will review and we'll be ready to go. With respect to manufacturing, we just, manufacture our bronchiolitis systems. They'll be the same systems used in the home NTM study for now. This is a pilot study, so we don't have a commercial-ready NTM home system yet. We don't need it. The study will tell us a lot on how to make that final design. So those systems need to be built, which, again, I don't think is a problem. We've got timelines for both our filters and systems. But in fairness, they're both contracted out. So if they miss their timelines, that's a problem. But right now the timelines are on track. It shouldn't be any issues. This study is going to take place outside the United States. The study will take place in Australia. So, hopefully our shipping guys don't have any customs problems. But, that's really it, Scott. These are normal things in a trial, normal things that you go through. And right now, we've got schedules for everything. Everything's in place. And nothing should stop us from hitting that timeline, other than, something out of the ordinary, something out of left field that we can't control. But we're on track for that study. I'm very excited to get it started.
Okay, great. Thank you for that color. And then just for clarity on the bronchiolitis program, is the IDE, is that going in next week, or has that already been submitted?
The bronchiolitis IDE?
Yes.
Well, I'll let you know. It's supposed to go in today. So if it happens today, it happens today. If it happens Monday, it'll happen Monday. But the team has all the information, and it's just a matter of getting it into the format and shipping it off to the FDA. So I can't. I don't have the confirmation that it was done today or will be done today, or if not today, it'll be Monday. But our team obviously is moving on after today to the PMA. So that's where we are. Everything's done for it. Just I'm not privy to how you need to submit these things to FDA, but there's some format. And if we can get it done today, we will. If not, it'll be Monday.
Okay, great. And just a final question, more on the accounting side. Given what's happened with Circassia, going forward, do we pull out those milestones? Do they, not get counted anymore, or just any accounting changes that we should think about in our model, given what's happened?
From the Circassia deal? I mean, there's nothing. That's it. They don't exist anymore. On the model.
So the amortization which happened in this quarter won't continue. I'm not sure, Doug, if there's still going to be more, because we recognized that I think it was just a couple $100,000 this quarter, so there might be a little bit less next quarter. Doug, do you know if there's a little bit left on the amortization?
There's about 650 or so left. Most likely we'll be taking in the revenue based on what is performed on this obligation in the future.
So over the next 2 quarters, Scott, that'll be in there. And we don't exactly know how it'll be. It'll break down between the 2 quarters, but it's basically amortized from the deal signing to the PMA submission.
It's really based on the cost method is what we expended.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you for taking the question.
Sure.
Our next question comes from Yale Jen with Laidlaw & Company. Please proceed with your question.
Good morning, Steve, and thanks for taking the question. The first question is about for the potential partner versus the sales and marketing. Given the program, theoretically it's a little bit more de-risk, do you anticipate or do you want a deal that's better than the XAIR deal to be the goal or the requirement to sign a deal, or you will have other consideration as well?
I think there are other considerations. I mean, if it's a global deal, for example, that would be, we wouldn't be able to compare to what the terms were prior. If it's a U.S. only deal, we would think it would be at least as good, if not better. But there are some other considerations that we're looking at.
Okay, great. 2 more quick ones. First one is that should we anticipate an end of phase 2 meetings in third quarter of this year for bronchitis, given that you will start a trial in the fourth quarter of this year? The pivotal study is fourth quarter of this year.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to go see FDA again. Obviously, after we get the results, and I'll talk with my team and see. But at this point, I don't think we need to sit down with FDA again. I think we've already sat down with them, and I think we are pretty much in step with what they have told us and guided us to. What they've asked of us is very reasonable, and we're going to hit everything that they're asking for in the pivotal trial design. Again, I think that the results that we're coming out with now is more going to help us power the study properly. Is really the main goal here. So I don't think there's really much change from the FDA as it leads to it.
Okay, maybe the last question that in the press release, there's one thing mentioned there is the calibration gas deal with Mesa Specialty Gas. So do you want to elaborate a little bit more, or just giving the significance of that particular deal? Yeah.
It's a good question. Right now, the only calibration gas that's available in the U.S. comes from XAIR and Mallinckrodt for the specific purpose of calibrating these systems for use in humans. Obviously, there's plenty of calibration gas, oxide, nitrogen dioxide in the U.S. from many different vendors, but in our opinion, none of them rise to the level of being allowed to sell their gas to hospitals to calibrate the INOMAX or NOx box systems for use with ventilators on humans. We don't think anybody can do it except those two. So if we were to come to market without a source of cal gas, that'd be a problem. I can't imagine XAIR wanting to sell it to us as we're competing with them in the marketplace. So it's very important to secure supply, and that's what we did. Mesa they're fantastic at what they do. We're very happy to have them as partners, and we're going to be ready to go with that gas. In addition to that, this gas is not only going to be for our pulmonary hypertension system, it's going to be for all of our systems. So when we sell the bronchiolitis system, the infusion system, the at-home system for any lung infection, those systems need to be calibrated as well. So now we have supply for calibration gas for all of our systems, and globally too. Mesa currently ships product to, I think, 80 or more countries around the world. So they do have their distribution systems and channels to get the gas wherever we need it to go. So as we move forward, we have ultimate confidence that we can supply calibration gas to any hospital or any partner we may have for home use for our home system, so that we can make sure that the calibration is being done properly. We don't have to rely on others who are most likely our competitors and probably not going to deal with us. So it's very important to have this locked up, and we did it early to make sure.
Okay, great, thanks, and congrats. Have a pretty eventful year to come.
Thanks, yeah.
As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. One moment, please, while we poll for questions. Our next question comes from Dave Sherman with LifeSci Capital. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, guys. This is Rahul on for Dave. Just two quick ones from me. If you guys were to take on U.S. commercialization and PPHN yourselves, there's certain hospitals you would target early on, and how could that potentially change if you were to find a new commercial partner?
I'm not so sure that the initial target hospitals are going to change much, whether it's us or a partner, to be honest. There are several factors at play, and I just don't think it would matter if it was done by us or a partner. I think the same hospitals would be targeted for the initial control function.
Okay, great. And then in terms of the study design for the at-home trial and NTM, can you remind us of your plans for monitoring patients in the study? Like how frequently will you be checking in, and what kind of freedom will you have to engage with them and kind of help them optimize treatment? We're
not going to be, helping them in the home. That's the whole point. They should be able to do this on their own. So there will be visits. Obviously, I just mentioned calibration gas, so we have to calibrate the systems. Systems are normally calibrated once a month. So if they're going to be treating for 12 weeks at home, obviously there's going to be at least, two visits for calibration. So we'll be able to visit them and calibrate the system and also do a check. But these patients, if there's any issues or are any issues, these are going to be patients who have underlying serious illness, some type of bronchiectasis, most likely, whether it's CF or non-CF. So they're going to be in communication with their physicians. So if there's anything from a medical perspective, they would go to their physician and see their physician, whether it be at the hospital or elsewhere. But with respect to the system itself, we are certainly going to be at least in their home twice during that time period, and probably there will be a couple of more checks on the patient and on the system to make sure. As you can imagine, using the filters, we probably don't want to give them 12 weeks worth of filters at one time. We'll probably stop off a couple of times, dropping off filters on a regular basis rather than just giving them the entire amount at once. You don't need them 2 days after they go home destroying 12 weeks worth of filters by accident. So there'll be ample opportunity for us to interact with the patient, helping the patient answering questions. The patient will be trained in the system before they go home, obviously. So they won't be able to go home in the system unless they pass the training that we will be giving them before they can take it home. So we're very confident with the trial design because a lot of parameters built in for safety, and just really can't wait to get it going.
Got it. Thank you. That was very helpful. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it from us. We're just excited to see everything that happens over the next 12 months. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Our next question is from James Malloy with Alliance Global Partners. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for taking my question. I had a quick question on potential marketing, additional marketing partner for the U.S. launch. I mean, can you speak to the interest level that you're seeing and sort of what the ideal new partner or new deal for a new partner would look like from XAIR's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, there's interest. And again, you have to understand that this is a niche market. It's not like there's 50 or 100 companies that want this. It's not a GP market. It's not a general hospital-based product either. It's a very specialized product within the hospital. So the universe of potential partners is a lot smaller than your average product. But we do have interest. I don't know what ideal is, Jim. We have to see. There's a lot of factors here. Who the partner is, what their abilities are, what kind of we battle over royalties and upfront payments and how they match up. Co-promote or not co-promote. Those I think are an interesting question that's out there. So there's a lot of different things here that would make it an optimal deal for us, depending on the different factors that we're looking at. But just everybody's asked this question, so you have to keep in mind that the second indication is bronchiolitis, and that's a hospital-based product that will be in the hospital 100% of the time. It's pediatric focused. These are going to be babies. They're going to be infants. Right now the trials are up to 1 year of age. So it's a little different than newborns, but still it is pediatric focus in the hospital. So this would be a lot of overlap with Salesforce. So as you can imagine, if we do have a partner, we might be interested in looking at a co-promote perspective. That would really give us a leg up on the bronchiolitis launch. That's going to be about 2 years behind this launch. So that's a major factor for us in terms of having discussions with partners and talking to them about what kind of structure they'd like to have. So, when you look at the bigger picture of our company, you have to keep the bronchiolitis launch in mind. And this isn't just a one-off thing where we say, hey, let's take care of this one indication. It means nothing to the rest of our company. It's just not true. From a commercial perspective, if you looked at our at-home product, there's really not much. There's not much overlap between the hospital and the at-home system in terms of commercial need. So we would have that in our mind when we think about this deal. But we do have to keep bronchiolitis in the case. Hope that helps.
That does. Thank you. And then, so a follow-up on that. What do you anticipate? I know that this is going to be a tough question to answer on a call, because since the competitor is probably on this call. But you're coming in with a fairly disruptive technology, that we see. What do you see as potential responses from sort of the installed base in this niche, and sort of the plans that you guys have to respond to their reactions?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. So, well, we have a whole bunch of scenario analyses that we've gone over internally. So hopefully we've thought of every possible thing that they can do, and we're prepared to respond to it. But you have to ask them what they think of us and what they're going to do when we come to market. I really don't know, which triggers they're going to pull against us. But whatever it is, we think that's good.
Absolutely. Well, last question then, just to touch on briefly the coronavirus thing, and I know that you're certainly not playing it up as a big part of the story. More of, if you can be, it sounds like if you can be of some help, you will. But it's certainly a topical a topical story, obviously. And what kind of timing would you anticipate were there to be some actual developments along those lines from you guys?
Yeah, I think that the governments around the world that are looking for help, they want something fairly quickly. I think they're looking for people or companies that could help within the next 30, 60, 90 days is my guess. I think if we get into the summertime and they have no solution, then there's probably no solution. So I think it's going to happen fairly quickly. We're in February. I'd be surprised if we got past May or June where they didn't have things, ready to go. So if it's going to happen, it'll happen quickly. Again, we're going to throw our hat in the ring, and if we can be of service, we'll do it. And if they think our product can help and our treatment can help, we're going to do what we can. And I think that our manufacturing partners would do the same thing. They would do the best that they could in terms of churning out product as quickly as they could to help with this situation. So I'm not playing it up, Jim, because this is not part of our plan. This is just something that's happening in the world, and if we can help, we will. It's not the time to talk about how much money a company can make. This is not the time to talk about it. The time to talk about that is on our other products. Right now, it's just if we could be of service, we will. And I have no idea what kind of compensation we get for that. We haven't even thought about that. If there's something, great. It's not something that we're planning on or even thinking about. We're just trying to get as much data as we can together as quickly as we can to show them, hey, we're an option for you if you need us.
Understood. Thank you very much for taking the questions.
Thanks, Jim.
We have reached the end of the question and answer session. At this time, I'd like to turn the call back over to management for closing comments.
Thanks, everyone, for spending time with us. And it's a long call. Thank you very much for all the questions. And I look forward to seeing everyone on March 5th. Thanks.
This concludes today's conference.